American Language Course Placement Test, Form 51. Part 1, Listening. Directions for items 1 to 56. You will hear statements or questions on the tape. Select the best answer and mark your answer sheet A, B, C, or D. Do not write on the test booklet. 1. I will allow my son to go to town. What will I do? Two. What number is between 15 and 17? Three. This pencil is like that one. Four. You can store food in a refrigerator. Five. Jim went to town yesterday with his friend to buy a pair of shoes. Where did he go? Six. Harry went to the snack bar. Why did he go there? Seven. Jim wants to clean up. What does he want to do? Eight. He was a passenger on that bus. Nine. This machine is automatic. Ten. Tom said, this shirt costs $10.98. What was Tom talking about? $11. Rose Ellen broke her mirror. $12. These two wires should not come in contact with each other. $13. Lieutenant Small said, I left as soon as the meeting broke up. When did he leave? $14. Alfred quit working after sunset. When did Alfred stop? 15. John and Mary had an argument. What did they have? "16. Tom said that the classroom was available. What did Tom say about the classroom?" "17. Mr. Jones tried out the car on the highway. What did he do?" "18. Tom is not in class because he has been sick for 2 weeks. "19. James told the clerk, 'I want a pack of cigarettes.' "20. That street is very straight." "21. Lieutenant Lee sent his sister a letter." "22. Corporal Harris has great respect for his officers." "23. You should never skip class." "24. Stick to your studies." "25. John will entertain the visitors." "26. Tom said, 'These apples are spoiled.' What did he say about the apples?" "27. The dust is all over the room. Where is the dust?" "28. Fred collected the students' papers in sequence." "29. Bill and David want to take a walk after dinner. What do they want to do after dinner? "30. The instructor said, 'I can hardly hear you.' What did the instructor mean?" "31. Can you start a fire with 2 stones?" "32. They walked through a dense forest. What kind of forest was it?" "33. Joe doesn't like to go to the movies alone." "34. These shoes are worn out. What should I do with them?" "35. The meat was too rare." "36. She will be thirsty when she comes home." "37. John usually goes to bed at 11 o'clock." "38. It takes 15 minutes to record the tape." "39. The weather report indicates no precipitation for today." "40. Mrs. Connor furnished all the food for the graduation party." "41. I saw the man sinking." "42. Today's lecture ought to be heard by everybody." 43. The supermarket is out of fruit. 44. What is the function of this switch? 45. The plane is approaching the airport. 46. The doctor wants to check John's pulse. What does the doctor want to check? 47. Tom will lend you some money. 48. Mrs. Smith didn't meet the captain. 49. How long does it take to go from San Antonio to Chicago? 50. Be sure you watch carefully before you drive onto the highway. 51. The soldier worked in transportation and supply. What did his job involve? 52. Harry was told to attend class. What did he have to do? 53. Why did the welder use goggles? 54. The enemy gave up to the superior forces. What did the enemy do? 55. The medicine is for external use. 56. Ted said he would have a bit more. How much did he want? Directions for items 57 to 66. You will hear conversations or persons giving information. Select the best answer and mark your answer sheet A, B, C, or D. 57.
What did you buy?
Some clothes.
What did the man buy? $58.
Why are you going away?
For recreation.
Why is the man going away? $59.
Are you going to give that book away?
No, I want to sell it.
What did the man say? $60.
Where can I buy a money order?
Down at the post office.
What did the man want to buy? $61.
What does Billy want?
A blanket.
Why does Billy want a blanket? $62.
George doesn't know when the plane leaves.
Neither do I.
What did the man say? $63.
What caused the engine to fail?
It failed because of poor maintenance.
What did the man blame the failure on? $64.
What do you want to know?
The purpose of all this.
What does the woman want to know? $65.
Can you meet me at the restaurant, Mary?
Yes, it's a very convenient place.
Why will they meet at the restaurant? $66.
Where is everybody?
Oh, didn't you know? The meeting occurred yesterday.
What did the woman say about the meeting? This is the end of the listening part of the test.